Hey guys, I just wanted to try something out new with my little Lenovo M710Q. It's a tiny PC or a tiny desktop that was actually used in a local, what they call it, a call center of some sort, or office work, which is really tiny and compact. And I bought it actually used through Amazon.com or Amazon.ca for the Canadian side. And it's been working very well, and I've never had any complaints about this. I've installed Windows 10, Windows 11. I've tried also using Ubuntu Linux. Specifically, I've tried the interface of Genome, which is the interface itself on Ubuntu. And then I've also tried Xubnutu, which is using the XCFE interface, which is a light version of it, so it's more quicker, faster response and all that. So I actually had it set up where I had bought two Timetech SSDs, one for Windows 10 and then one for Windows 11, or another operating system on an SSD. And come to see that on this particular ThinkCenter that I have here, it also accepts NVMe drives. So I figured, why not? Might as well get an NVMe drive and try and put another OS on that drive and still have either Windows 10 or Windows 11 on the
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Basically what I'm going to be doing here is to do a review on two of Timetech's hard drives that I have here. One is a SSD of 2 terabytes, 650 megabytes read, 600 megabytes write on their classical SSD. And the other one is their NVMe of 2 terabytes, which is basically the same size as the SSD, but it's on a NVMe connection, which I actually picked up yesterday through Amazon. I've actually had the SSD a little bit longer than the NVMe hard drive itself, and I really like the SSD in comparison to the old mechanical hard drive. Of the same size. Thing is this here you can actually install any version of Windows from 7 to 11. So I've used it with Windows 11, Windows 8 as well. No, not Windows 8. Windows 10 and Windows 11. This one here I have not installed anything yet, but I will be installing a version of Ubuntu Linux with the GUI of XCFC or XCFE GUI interface. Now, just to let you guys know, Linux has come a long way, so it's more or less guaranteed you'll be able to install both of them onto these two drives respectively. What I am going to do basically is on my current desktop that I have, which is a Lenovo ThinkCenter M710Q, which is a tiny PC or tiny workstation that used to be used in a call center a long time ago on a planet far, far away that used to be a call center, and run it onto that. So my plans for these two here is to get this reinstalled back in, install Windows 11 on this one, and of course my software that I usually use under the Windows environment. And then once I have that installed on this, then what I'll do is disconnect it momentarily, get this installed, and then run and install Xubnutu onto this one with the appropriate apps that I'll be using underneath that one. And then once that is done, re-enable this one here as well So both drives will be seen, and you will be seen from the computer itself, so I can switch between one or the other. There is a special feature on the Lenovo Think Center where I can say to the computer itself by hitting, I believe it's F12, and it will come up with a menu giving me a choice of either booting off of the SSD or booting off of the NVMe. So we'll do that first, is to set one up with the OS and then with the software onto it, and then momentarily disconnecting that, and then doing the exact same thing for the NVMe. The reason why I'm doing that is that I want to have both of these available onto the computer itself, but I want them to be both separate from each other. So each is working on a separate drive, separate from each other, so they're not sharing the same drive itself, which I find it's going to be a lot better, and you'll get decent numbers because you won't be having an OS fighting for the space on either one. So one won't be conflicted within the other. They're both on separate drives, and the computer won't go into a conniption. I say conniption shit, but it's not really a conniption shit. It's just that it'll make it easier for the OS to get installed, and I won't run into many problems getting both operating systems installed onto the same computer. They'll be both on separate drives. So what I'm going to do now, since it's only Tuesday as of right now for the video, I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to just shut down for the time being, come back on a Saturday, get this installed in first, come back, get this installed first, and then go through the process of installing Windows 11. Once that is done, and I'll do it live here with you, so you'll get actually to see the installation process of Windows 11 on this. Then unplug the drive momentarily, so it won't be seen by the computer itself, and then get this one installed in, and then run the installation for Xubnutu on this one here. Do the installation complete. Once it's completed the installation, boot it up for the first time, let it go through the final configuration as they normally do when doing a fresh install on any new drive, patch it up, and then from there, once I get this one patched up and installed properly, then I'll plug this one here back in, and then that way I have two drives in the same machine where I can actually choose either Windows 11 on this one or Xubnutu on this one. The reason why I also got the 2 terabyte drive is that the price per gigabyte has dropped, and plus not only that, with Amazon, going onto Amazon, I was lucky enough to get the TimeTech SSD here at 2 terabytes. As of this writing, I was lucky enough to find this a few months ago on the SSD, where I paid $90 Canadian for a single drive like this. I went recently looking for this one here, and oops. Anyhow, I went recently looking for the SSD. The prices are about $150, $160 even for the 2 terabyte, which is still not too bad. The prices have gone down in comparison. The reason why I'm also going to NVMe and SSD is that it's more economical now than using the old mechanical drives, which I used to be very much a big fan of. And what I did is just kind of backed away from using the old mechanical hard drives and going with a newer technology for the drives themselves. So let's get into the installation of the drives separately and installing the OS. So let's get that done.
Well, as you can see, as for the Windows installation, it was done very quickly. It was done under 10 minutes. The problem is I forgot to record the Xubnutu installing. The problem I ran into is that the installation went well. It was there. I could see it. I went into Windows, ran this manager just to see if it did anything at all, and yeah, it did partition and it did do everything it was supposed to do. It's just that I think the BIOS itself, that's on the ThinkCenter itself, does detect it, does see it, does everything that it should. The only problem is I think there was something missing to activate it as for it to be a bootable device under the boot section. That's under the F12 as bootable devices. I'm going to have to take a look around. I'm going to speak with a couple of my other geeky guys that I do deal with. Some of them are IBM Lenovo specialists, so they should be able to find out something about that. It's just a matter, I know I'm overlooking something regarding that to be able to enable the boot from NVMe. It's just right now I just don't remember how. I've looked on the internet, but they were for other models of the ThinkCenter. So right now it's not a high priority per se for me, but I'll say this: I did boot Xubnutu off of an SSD on it, and it works perfectly fine off of the SSD. I may go that route for just being able to have Xubnutu on a disk per se, preferably a 2 terabyte one. So call me a little geekazoid here of 2 terabyte drives and all that, which I happen to love over the smaller size SSDs or smaller NVMEs. And I'm not trying to say the lower ones are not good. They're good as well. It's just depending on what you're looking for. And depending on the operating system as well. Some of them do support NVMEs. Some do support SSDs. I know for sure the earlier versions like Windows 95, 98, 98 second edition, Windows 2000 might support it, especially for the SSDs. I don't know too sure on the NVMEs. I don't know if there was driver support for it at that time when Windows 2000 came out. But I'm going to take a look into it more once I find out what the heck went wrong in being able to actually choose that NVMe as a boot drive to boot into. Then I'll be able to continue on from there. Other than that, the Lenovo M710Q, as it is, whether you're running Windows 10, Windows 11, it works very well. It's light, just as Windows 10 is. The thing that worried me about Windows 11 is that when I first installed it on the M710 ThinkCenter, there's the encryption that they use, the TPM and all that. I do understand the reasoning behind it because they want to make it more secure, and where you have like the TPM, which is a module on a motherboard, on the more recent ones, it makes the encryption better. But for myself, since I'm using it just for home use, it's not really that important. It's important to some extent, but it's not urgent that I absolutely need TPM. So I was able to get around it and be able to install that without any problems. I more likely will go back to Windows XCFE at a later date, but it's going to be more likely probably with another hard drive, like the 1 terabyte that I have here, the older one. So I might put Xubnutu on this one and flip this one here and out, in and out for that. But other than that, it's been good. And what I like about the quality of the 2 drives, or the 3 drives that I have from TimeTech, they're good. For the price that I paid for them, they're really good. I'm not expecting them to be for high gaming rigs and all that. But for the price that you pay for through Amazon, which was $135, I believe, for the SSDs, and it runs great. I have no quarrels. They are DRAMless ones. For me, it didn't really matter that much, but I noticed a massive improvement between the old mechanical hard drives, which I dearly loved. Is what I was brought up with since the early days of the early MFMs on the original XTs, compared to today, which is now on SATA and NVMe's. So I've seen the technology grow and speed up there quite a bit. And I remember doing the opposite optimization and defrags, clean disks on the earlier drives, the earlier mechanical drives, just to keep them up to specs. Never a quarrel on that. But with the new SSDs and the NVMe's, forget about doing a disk drag. You don't really need that. A cleanup every so often of temporary files, dead files, and all that. Do that once in a month. Pure maintenance stuff. But other than that, it works great. And I like using both of them on this machine. And it's been a pleasure running it on that. Especially when you have 32 gigs of RAM. It's fun. Anyhow, with that being said, I leave everybody to go, and I'll catch you next time around. Happy computing.